What's up, Brew Crew? Opie here. So it's the middle of April here in Milwaukee. Can you guess what time it is in the Brew City Garden? That's right, it's potato time. It's the middle of April and we're about 5 weeks out from our last frost date here in Milwaukee. That means it's time to get the potatoes in. Now, if you recall last year, I was way late getting my potatoes in the ground, but I still ended up with just an incredible harvest using the, some people call it the Ruth Stout method, but basically I just take my used straw bales from last year and put them in a garden out back. And I just cover the potato seed with straw, and it just, I can't even explain how good the harvest was last year. So me getting these in the ground before frost this year, I imagine that's going to increase our harvest by exponents. So what you see here are a bunch of potatoes that I actually harvested from last year. So these all came out of the Brew City Garden last year, and they're just potatoes that we didn't get to. I mean, we really had so many, we didn't even eat them all. Now, I keep these in a basement on a dark shelf away from the light, but even so, these potatoes self-chitted. If you're not sure what chitting is basically many people purposely chit their potatoes before they plant them, and basically that's just putting them under light so that they begin to sprout. And as you can see, these sprouts are coming up very nice, and these were just from sitting in the dark. So these potatoes are ready to grow, basically. So I don't have to worry about chitting any of these potatoes, and I've got several seed potatoes to plant this year. Now, the potatoes from last year, I have the red ones are the Pontiac Reds, and the white are a combination of Yukon Golds and Kennebec White. Unfortunately, I can't distinguish between the two, but there's not so much of a difference that it's gonna trip me up during harvest time. So it's really not gonna make any difference at all. Now, I really didn't think this would be enough seed potatoes for the year. So I went ahead and went to our local nursery and picked up some more seed potato. So what I have here is another 5 pounds of Yukon Golds, as well as another 5 pounds of red Norland potatoes. This will be a new one for us this year. Really looking forward to trying them. We love the red potatoes. The harvest on them seems to be outstanding always. So hopefully the red Norland proved to be the same. Now, I know sometimes you look in your pantry and you've got a bag of russet potatoes that are already beginning to sprout, and you might be wondering, well, can I plant these potatoes? The answer is yes, absolutely, you can plant those. Russet potatoes are usually a more mid-season, early maturing type of potato. They grow very uniformly. Obviously, that's why they're grown commercially. But actually, Jose, the neighbor, sent me a message a couple weeks ago saying that his potatoes were sprouting, and they are russets, and he was wondering, can I use them? Can I put them in the garden? And I said, yeah, absolutely. Hold on to those suckers. They'll be just fine until I get to them. So here I am a couple weeks later with these self-chitted russet potatoes, and we'll go ahead and we'll plant these in the new garden with the rest of these. Now, you may be wondering, do I cut my potatoes before I plant them? Well, it really all depends on how many seed potatoes I have. If I'm running low on potatoes, I'll cut them, absolutely. But it looks like this year, between what was left over from last year and the new seed potatoes that I picked up this year, in combination with the russet potatoes that Jose, the neighbor, gave me, I don't think we need to cut them. We can just plant them whole as is. Honestly, I really never noticed a big difference between cutting my potatoes and planting them whole. Some people swear otherwise. It's just my experience that there really isn't that big of a difference. We'll just leave these whole. We've got plenty. So as you've seen back in the first day of spring video, one of our neighbors was gracious enough to offer up a piece of his property for us to put in a new garden. So we have appropriately named it the Jose the Neighbor Garden. And let me tell you, Jose and his family are just some stand-up people, just some great neighbors to have. So I really appreciate them. Now we'll go back and we'll take a look at the garden. It's brand new and it's a lasagna style garden. And I'll explain to you exactly how I put it together and why we're gonna plant potatoes in that garden for the first year or two. All right guys, let's get over there and take a look at it. All right guys, so here we are at the Jose the Neighbor Garden, and as I said before, this is a brand new lasagna style garden. And what I mean by that is we didn't actually dig the ground at all for this. Now Jose, over the last year or two, had a tarp laying in this area which killed off the majority of the grass. So what I did last fall was come through, I removed the tarp, and I put down a layer of cardboard, and then I laid a bunch of the plants that I pulled out of my garden last year. So the yacon and a bunch of the tobacco, and that was the first layer that I put on this garden. And then this spring I came back and I layered all my straw bales, all my spent straw bales from the Brew City Garden last year, layered all that on top of this. So essentially it's just a layer of organic material layered on top of itself. And for the first couple of years, it's really not established. The whole garden pretty much sits above ground. And that's why I thought that for the first year or two, potatoes would be a perfect fit for this. Because essentially I can just plant the seed potatoes underneath the straw, and they'll do fantastic in this garden. Potatoes are very shallow rooted crops, so they're not really gonna need to penetrate the soil. And over the next couple of years, the earthworms and insects will come up through that cardboard into the layers, and they'll begin to break it down, and then they'll pull that organic material down into the ground. And in a couple of years, this will actually become established, where deeper rooted plants and taller plants will absolutely thrive in this garden. As far as planting the potatoes themselves, this really couldn't be any simpler. I'm basically just going to pull the straw back. I'll place the potato deep on the ground towards where the cardboard lays, and just cover it back up with the straw. And we're going to have a phenomenal harvest come this fall. All right guys, I got a whole lot of seed potatoes to put in the ground. Let's see if we can get them all to fit. All right, let's get to work. So as you can see, there's not much that's easier to do in the garden in early spring than throw some potatoes in the straw. And I tell you what, come the end of summer, there's not going to be much that's more rewarding either. Hey, if you're new here, hit that subscribe button down there so you can follow along with the Brew City Garden for the rest of the 2019 season, and you can see just how well those potatoes do. Hey, and leave a comment below. Let me know what you're planting this year. I'd like to know what everybody's got going on in their garden. And don't forget, guys, hose before potatoes, unless you're planting in straw. All right, guys, what are you waiting for? Go plant your potatoes. We'll see you.